I've been reborn countless times. All I ever wanted was to marry my girlfriend of 10 years, but I die a horrible death every single time. No matter how I try to escape or save myself, my parents are still murdered, and I can't avoid my own fate, having died in all sorts of bizarre ways. It wasn't until I checked the security footage that I saw it. My girlfriend cheating on me with my best friend on our wedding day. The person trying to kill me was never a stranger. It was the woman who'd been by my side for a decade. I married my girlfriend of 10 years, just like I'd always dreamed. But on our wedding day, I was stabbed to death right there at the altar. I collapsed in a pool of my own blood, my girlfriend, Ava, holding me, her cries tearing through the air. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the wedding. This time, all I want is to live. I was dead. I died at my own wedding. What was supposed to be a joyous celebration filled with laughter instantly became a bloodbath. The guests descended into chaos, screaming and crying as they scrambled to get away. Only my parents, the Millers, fought against the tide of people desperately trying to get to me. But before they could even get close, they came face to face with the killer. His eyes were bloodshot, crazed, as he swiftly and cleanly slit both of their throats. Their gazes locked on me, filled with regret and sorrow, before they collapsed to the floor, lifeless. My fiancée, Ava, pressed her hands firmly against my chest, trying desperately to staunch the flow of blood. It was no use. I could feel my life slipping away with every passing second. The killer, still clutching the bloody knife, started walking slowly toward me. With the last of my strength, I shoved Ava aside and faced him head-on. The cold steel plunged into my back and burst through my chest. In that moment, I felt no pain, only a deep, chilling numbness. My consciousness began to fade, like being dragged into an abyss. I grabbed the killer's shirt, and with my final breath, I rasped, "Ava, run!" Ava shook her head wildly, crawling toward me through her tears. With a sickening squelch, the killer ripped the knife from my chest, and a fresh torrent of blood erupted. He turned, dragging the blade along the floor, and started walking toward Ava. "You fool, just leave me and run." I screamed inside my head, but I could only watch in horror as everything unfolded. A crushing sense of helplessness and despair pulled me into an endless void. When I opened my eyes again, I was blinded by a sudden, harsh light. My arms flailed instinctively as a single, reflexive shout escaped my lips. "Ava, run!" My voice was thick with terror and panic. A sharp pop echoed in the room, and Ava's worried voice cut through the haze. "James, what's wrong?" As my vision slowly came into focus, I saw her sitting on the edge of the bed in her white wedding gown, her brow furrowed with concern. Colorful confetti from a party popper littered the floor at my feet, and everyone in the room was staring at me, bewildered. I glanced down at my chest. A bright red groom's sash was draped across it, the color so vivid it looked like blood, making my eyes sting. I pinched my arm hard. A sharp, searing pain shot through me, and the sheer reality of it sent a jolt through my entire body. What the hell was going on? I was dead, wasn't I? Before I could make sense of anything, the people around me started joking. The groom's just overwhelmed with excitement. "Look at him, he's totally dazed." I think the bride's beauty just short-circuited his brain. Laughter filled the room, but my heart sank with every chuckle. I forced myself to compose my features and turned to Ava. Her cheeks were flushed, and she looked adorably shy. "Ava, is today our wedding?" My voice trembled as I spoke, laced with a deep sense of dread. She shot me a playful, scolding look, but her eyes were filled with warmth and affection. "James, what are you talking about?" Everyone else immediately chimed in. "You've hit the jackpot, man. Career, love, you've got it all. We're all so jealous. We've been watching you two for 10 years now. Now hurry up and sweep her off her feet. Don't waste any more time." Was it possible that everything that happened before was just a nightmare? My heart pounded in my chest, tight with anxiety. I managed a weak smile and started toward Ava, but her maid of honor, Hannah, stepped in front of me. "Whoa there, hold your horses," she teased with a grin. "You haven't found her shoes yet, have you?" The shoes. My hands shaking, I reached into the photographer's camera bag and, with a practice motion, pulled out one of her heels. Then I ducked down, reached under the bed, and smoothly retrieved the other one. Everyone stared, stunned by how quickly and efficiently I'd done it. Hannah frowned. "Hey, do we have a traitor in the bridesmaids' camp? We hid those so well. How did you find them in 2 seconds?" I froze, every drop of blood in my veins turning to ice. This moment, this exact scene, was identical to the last time. Next, Ava and I would go to the Grand Vista Hotel for the ceremony, and I would be stabbed to death. This wasn't a dream. I couldn't marry her. I lunged forward, grabbing Ava's hand. "Ava, we can't get married today," I yelled, my voice frantic. Ava froze for a second, a flicker of surprise in her eyes, but she quickly tightened her grip on my hand and smiled. "James, stop joking around. Everyone's waiting for us at the hotel." I stared at her, my expression dead serious. "Ava, I'll explain everything later, I promise. But we absolutely cannot get married today." Right there in front of her, I pulled out my phone and called my parents, telling them to cancel the wedding and get out of the hotel immediately. My parents were completely baffled, assuming Ava and I had gotten into some last-minute fight. "James, what on earth are you talking about?" my mom pleaded. "We're at the finish line. You can't just call it off now. Listen to me, whatever the problem is, just get through the ceremony first. We can sort it out later." My dad cut in. "All our friends and family are here waiting. You two need to get to the hotel now." They hung up before I could explain any further. The murmurs in the room grew louder, and I could feel everyone's eyes on me, sharp as daggers. They saw me as a monster, a runaway groom. The color drained from Ava's face. Hannah stood up, furious. "James, you asshole. How can you do this now? What is Ava supposed to do?" Ava sat on the bed, sobbing like a wilted flower, and every tear felt like a knife in my heart. But the image of my parents' brutal deaths flashed in my mind, and I knew I couldn't afford to wait. "Ava, I'm so sorry," I said. "I have to go to the hotel right now. I'll explain everything when I get back." I turned to leave, but she grabbed my hand, her grip like a vice. Her voice, however, was a desperate whisper. "James, if you walk out that door today, we're done." I couldn't bring myself to look at her. "I am sorry, Ava. I'll make it clear when I get back," I mumbled. She snatched her hand away, her eyes filled with pure, broken disappointment. She ripped the veil from her hair and threw it at me, her face contorted with rage. "You bastard, James." She shoved me aside and ran out of the room, barefoot. I took off after her. She was sprinting down the street like her life depended on it, her white dress billowing behind her, right into the path of a speeding car. I didn't have time to think. My body moved on its own. I lunged forward, shoving her out of the way with every ounce of strength I had. A deafening crash echoed as the car hit me, sending my body flying through the air in a sickening arc before I slammed onto the pavement. Agony ripped through my entire body, like 1,000 knives slicing me apart from the inside. My vision blurred, the world spun, and then there was nothing. I was dead again. Not by a knife this time, but by a car. After hitting me, the car actually backed up, rolling over my arms and legs. It felt like my body was being torn to shreds. In the final moment before everything went black, I saw Ava running toward me, her face a mask of pure horror. Her lips were moving, probably screaming my name, but I couldn't hear a thing. I managed a faint, almost imperceptible smile. At least she was safe. When I woke up again, my chest felt like it was being crushed by a boulder. My entire body ached as if it had been shattered, a pain like a million fire ants gnawing on my bones that left me breathless. I forced my eyes open and saw Ava, sitting on the bed, blushing shyly, completely oblivious to the carnage I'd just witnessed. Before Hannah could even say a word, I snatched the shoes from the photographer's bag and from under the bed, pushed through the crowd, and bolted out the door in one fluid motion. Everyone was left speechless by my sudden exit. Wow, James is in a hurry. How did he do all that so fast? Hey, you can't just run off with the bride. We haven't even gotten our gifts yet. Confused shouts followed me out, but I didn't slow down. I shoved Ava into the passenger seat of the limo, buckled her in, and slammed my foot on the accelerator, racing toward the hotel. Ava stared at me, completely bewildered. James, what is going on? I didn't answer, my eyes fixed on the road ahead, my foot pressing harder on the gas. I was in a race against time with a murderer, and I couldn't let history repeat itself. She clutched her seatbelt, fear creeping into her eyes. James, please slow down. You're scaring me. My face was a stone mask. I couldn't explain. This time, I had to live. I got to the Grand Vista a full hour ahead of schedule. The second the car stopped, my heart started hammering against my ribs, a frantic alarm telling me that danger was close. I turned to Ava. Stay in the car, I said, my voice low and urgent. Don't get out. I'll be right back. Then I dialed 911. There's a man with a knife at the Grand Vista Hotel, I said, my voice shaking. He's going to kill someone. The dispatcher on the other end was calm, assuring me that officers were on their way and telling me to stay safe. That helped a little. I hung up and sprinted for the hotel entrance. My parents were standing out front, greeting guests. Their faces registered pure shock when they saw me. James, what are you doing here so early? My dad asked. Aren't you supposed to be with Ava? I grabbed both of their hands, my voice firm. Mom, Dad, you need to come with me right now. I'll explain in the car. My mom pulled her hand away, startled. Are you crazy? Our guests are arriving. We can't just leave. If we don't leave right now, we are all going to die. I screamed. We have to go. Even my dad looked at me like I'd lost my mind. We were at a standstill. I pulled on his arm, but he wouldn't budge. James, everyone is watching. We can't make a scene like this, he said sternly. I'm not going anywhere until you give me a damn good reason. I was out of options. I had to tell them the truth. I told them everything that had happened, my voice shaking as I recounted the nightmare that was all too real. When I finished, they just stared at each other, their faces etched with disbelief, utterly speechless. I clutched their sleeves, pleading like a desperate child. Please, just trust me this one time. We have to leave. But we were out of time. Before they could even process my words, a searing heat exploded in my chest, and a crimson flower bloomed across my tuxedo. I saw the killer's reflection in my parents' horrified eyes. His head was bowed, the brim of a black baseball cap pulled down low, and a face mask obscured the rest of his features. He pulled the knife from my chest, the blade dripping with my blood and glinting in the sun. As he raised it to strike again, my mother suddenly lunged forward, tackling him with all her might. Enraged, the killer kicked her hard in the chest. She flew backward and was impaled on a decorative iron post. Blood gushed from her mouth, but her eyes never left me, filled with a mother's love and a terrible sorrow. The killer turned to my father, who, with a roar of fury, charged at him. Without a moment's hesitation, the man plunged the knife into my dad's chest, again and again. The ground turned crimson, the sight of it burning my eyes. With my last ounce of strength, I threw myself at him and bit down on his ear as hard as I could. The coppery taste of blood filled my mouth. He screamed in agony and in a blind rage stabbed at my eye. The pain was blinding, but I refused to let go. He panicked, stabbing me wildly, again and again. My suit was soaked through with blood in seconds. Just before I lost consciousness, I could hear the faint wail of sirens growing closer. The killer shoved me away, jumped into a waiting sedan, and vanished. And I was back, standing in front of Ava again. This time I was calm. The killer obviously knew me. He knew it was my wedding day. He knew who my parents were. Otherwise, he wouldn't have targeted only my family. Last time, I'd even moved the ceremony up an hour, and he still showed up at the perfect moment. My eyes drifted over to my groomsmen. They were all laughing, caught up in the celebration. All except one. My best friend, Ethan. Just a moment ago, I'd seen a flicker of resentment and darkness in his eyes. It was gone in an instant, but I saw it. I studied him, and a cold dread washed over me. His build was similar to the killer's, tall and lean. Could it be him? The thought took root in my mind and began to grow, wild and uncontrollable. Ethan seemed to sense my scrutiny. He tensed up, his eyes darting away nervously. James, why are you staring at me like that? I'm not the one in the white dress, he said, trying to make a joke of it. I cut straight to the point. Ethan, where have you been? I was looking for you. He stammered, My stomach was acting up. I was in the restroom. Ava cut in. James, what is with you today? You're acting so strange. I ignored her, my eyes locked on Ethan, searching his face for any sign of a lie. You're lying, I said flatly. I saw you in the bride's dressing room just a minute ago. The color drained from Ethan's face. He began to tremble, and beads of sweat formed on his forehead. I took a step closer. Why lie, Ethan? What were you doing in there? Panic was written all over his face. He tried to deflect. James, come on. It's your wedding day. Let's focus on that, okay? It doesn't matter where I was. My voice was calm. It's fine. The dressing room has a security camera. We can just take a look. Ethan immediately put a hand out to stop me, his voice strained. Come on, man. There's no need for that. We've been friends for years. You don't trust me? His reaction only confirmed my suspicions. I made my decision and turned toward the security office. Ava's patience finally snapped. James, what the hell are you doing? She yelled. It's our wedding day. Are you trying to ruin this? I looked back at her. This will only take a second, Ava. Just wait here. I'll be right back. With that, I pushed past everyone and headed for the security office, Ethan scrambling after me. The instant the footage appeared on the screen, he tackled me, and we crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs. I died again, but this time it was a complete accident. As Ethan and I struggled, he shoved me hard. I stumbled backward, and before I could even react, the back of my head slammed into the sharp corner of a desk. A jolt of agony shot through my skull. My vision swam, and the world went black. The next time I opened my eyes, I didn't waste a single second. I clutched my stomach, feigning a look of agony. My stomach, I yelled, and bolted from the room. Everyone was completely baffled by my sudden exit, exchanging confused glances. I ran faster than I ever had in my life, sprinting straight for the security office. I had only one thought on my mind. I had to see that tape. I copied the security footage from the dressing room onto my phone, then ran into the nearest men's room and locked the door. I clutched the phone in my hand, my heart hammering against my ribs, my body trembling. My gut was screaming that I was about to find what I was looking for. I stared at the screen, watching frame by frame, afraid to even blink for fear of missing a single detail. And then I saw him. Ethan slipped into the dressing room, glancing around nervously as if he expected to be caught at any second. He walked slowly toward Ava, his eyes locked on her with an intensity that was almost predatory. Suddenly, he grabbed her, his grip shockingly forceful, pulling her against him as if he wanted to absorb her into his own body. Ethan's voice was shaking with a barely suppressed rage. Ava, are you really going to marry him? Are you just going to pretend that what we had meant nothing? Ava's face was a mask of panic. Ethan, are you insane? It's my wedding day. Stop this. But it was like he couldn't even hear her. His eyes were wild, obsessive. Why, he growled. We were so in love. Why are you marrying him? Because he's rich, is that it? Ava glared at him. Ethan, snap out of it. We're over. It's my wedding day. You can't be here. Her words only seemed to make him more frantic. He tightened his grip on her hand and whispered in her ear, his voice pleading. Ava, please. Just one last time. I swear I'll leave you alone after this. Ava turned her head away, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of conflict in her eyes. But she didn't pull away. And then, the sounds that followed, echoing through the small dressing room, made my blood run cold. Those 10 minutes were the purest form of torture I have ever experienced. Every second a fresh slice of a knife against my heart. Finally, Ethan left, a look of smug satisfaction on his face. Ava, panting and flushed, quickly straightened her dress and hair, then reapplied her makeup, trying to erase any trace of what had just happened. In that moment, it felt like my entire world had been dropped from a skyscraper and shattered into a million pieces on the pavement below. I couldn't stop shaking, a white-hot rage building in my chest that threatened to consume me. Ava and Ethan, on my wedding day, how could they? How could I possibly go through with this wedding now? I wanted to storm out there and beat them both to a pulp, but a cold, hard piece of logic held me back. Ethan was probably the killer. I couldn't afford to be reckless. Ethan's impatient voice came through the door. James, you fall in or something. They're waiting for you. His shout was like a bucket of cold water, snapping me out of my rage and back to the present. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to think clearly. If I confronted them now, Ethan, in his obsession with Ava, would probably snap and kill me right then and there. But if I called the cops, I had no real proof of a murder plot. They wouldn't be able to do anything. What was I going to do? As I racked my brain, my hand brushed against the ring box in my pocket. An idea sparked. A plan began to form. I called out through the door, "Ethan, my stomach's killing me. Can you grab me some paper towels?" Grumbling, he did as I asked. "You picked a great time for this," he muttered, handing them through a crack in the door with a look of disgust. In that brief moment, as he leaned in, I slipped the wedding ring from its box and slid it silently into his jacket pocket. My movements were so swift and light, he didn't feel a thing. I ran back into the bridal suite, pretending to be in a full-blown panic, patting down my pockets. "Ava, the ring," I exclaimed, my voice laced with fake terror. "It's gone." The room erupted in a flurry of activity as everyone immediately started searching. Ava looked at me, her expression a mixture of worry and annoyance. "James, how could you lose it?" she asked. "Where did you last see it?" I slapped my forehead as if in sudden realization. "The dressing room. I was just in there. I must have left it in the dressing room." A whole crowd of us rushed to the dressing room and tore the place apart, but we found nothing. Just as everyone was about to give up, one of the groomsmen pointed to the corner of the ceiling. "Hey, there's a security camera in here. We can just check the footage to see where it went." The color drained from both Ava's and Ethan's faces. They exchanged a look of pure, unadulterated panic. The groomsman was already on his way to the security office, moving too fast for Ethan to stop him. He led us straight to the security office and pulled up the footage from the last hour. Ethan looked like he was about to lunge for the keyboard, but I grabbed his arm, holding him back. I gave him a helpless look. "Ethan, why don't you go check the car just in case? We'll watch the tape here. Maybe we'll spot it." I made sure my voice sounded genuinely desperate, as if the ring was the only thing on my mind. Ethan was so flustered he was practically babbling, his face bright red. "James, I really don't think we need to watch this. You were in the restroom for a while, right? Maybe you dropped it in there." Ava was just as agitated, her eyes darting around the room, her body rigid with tension. She was wringing her hands so hard her knuckles were white. "He's right, James," she said, her voice trembling. "My mom has called 3 times already. The wedding planner probably has a backup ring we can use. Let's just get married, okay? We're wasting time." The two of them were acting like they had a dirty secret to hide, and the whole world was about to find out. I didn't say a word, just watched them both with cold, calculating eyes. Ava grew even more frantic, grabbing my arm and begging me to hurry up. Her desperation was so obvious that even the other people in the room were starting to look at her suspiciously. The groomsman at the computer looked like he'd just struck gold, his eyes gleaming with the promise of juicy gossip. He fast-forwarded the footage, zipping right to the part of the recording I was waiting for. As the incriminating sounds began to play from the speakers, everyone in the room leaned in closer. And when the image finally appeared on the screen, the entire room fell silent. The only sound was the mortifying audio from the video, echoing in the dead quiet. Ethan and Ava's faces went white as sheets. They both began to tremble. They knew it was over. The wedding was, of course, canceled immediately. No explanation was necessary. After a betrayal that public and that humiliating, there was no way the wedding could continue. The story of what Ava and Ethan had done spread like wildfire among our friends and family, becoming the hottest piece of gossip in town. Ethan's business ventures had been failing for years, leaving him buried under a mountain of debt. Over the years, out of friendship, I'd lent him money time and time again to keep him afloat. And this was how he repaid me. I filed a lawsuit against him for the money I'd loaned him. When he got the summons, he came to my apartment, pleading, "James, we've been friends for so long. Are you really going to do this to me?" I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. "Friends? When you were screwing my fiancée on my wedding day, did you consider me your friend then?" When he saw I wouldn't back down, the pleading look on his face twisted into a vicious snarl. He pulled a knife from his jacket and lunged at me. I was ready for him. I dodged the first strike, then tackled him, pinning him to the floor. The police arrived shortly after and arrested him for attempted assault. As I watched them lead him away in handcuffs, I didn't feel any sense of victory, just a hollow, bitter emptiness. In the days that followed, Ava bombarded me with iMessages, a constant stream of apologies and pleas for me to take her back. No matter what she said, my reply was always the same: file for divorce. At her insistence, we'd gotten legally married at the courthouse before the ceremony. I thought it would make her feel more secure. Now, it was just another complication. I had my lawyer draw up the divorce papers and send them to her parents' house. It didn't take long for her to show up at my door with her entire family in tow. Her mother, Mrs. Davis, looked at me with a guilty expression, but her smile was forced as she gripped my hand. "James, I know Ava made a terrible mistake. The last thing we wanted was to bother you. But she's 2 months pregnant," she continued, "and the baby is yours. You can't just abandon her now." Pregnant? The words hit me like a physical blow. I just stood there, my mind completely blank. After a long moment, I finally found my voice. I let out a cold, sharp laugh. "Congratulations," I said. "But the baby's real father is in jail right now. Have you told him the good news?" Ava looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen from crying, filled with a look of profound hurt. "James, I know you hate me," she whispered, "but this baby is yours. That night you got so drunk, don't you remember any of it? If you don't believe me, we can do a paternity test when the baby's born." I just stared at her, silent. She bit her lip, fighting back fresh tears. "James, legally, you can't divorce a pregnant woman. Please, just give me one more chance. We can start over. I'll be a good wife, a good mother. I'll take care of our family." She was so convincing that even my own mother started to soften, tugging on my sleeve. "James," she whispered, "the baby is innocent. Maybe you should reconsider." So that was her plan. That was her endgame. Too bad for her. She'd made a fatal miscalculation. "Ava, let me be perfectly clear," I said, my voice flat. "I had a vasectomy 2 months ago. You know exactly whose baby that is, and it sure as hell isn't mine. We're getting a divorce. Don't even think about using this fake pregnancy to trap me. It won't work." I continued. "For the sake of our history, I was willing to make this clean. If you sign the papers without a fight, I'll even forgive the loans your family took from me. But if you fight me on this, we'll see you in court. And this pregnancy will be Exhibit A in my case, proving your infidelity. I'll win. And that money your family owes me, I want it back by the end of the week. Otherwise, I'll add it to the lawsuit, and you can all have a family reunion with the baby's real father in prison." At the mention of money, Ava's father, Mr. Davis, turned beet red. "James, we're family. You can't be serious about a little loan between us," he blustered. "My daughter gave you 10 years of her life. Don't you think she deserves some compensation for that? She made a mistake. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive her?" The audacity of these people was unbelievable. I wasn't going to stand there and listen to any more of it. I grabbed a broom from the closet and physically swept them out of my house. In the end, I settled with the Davis family. We would get the divorce, they would keep the money I'd given them for the wedding, and I would forgive their debts. I just wanted this whole disgusting chapter of my life to be over. The day we went to sign the papers, the sky was a menacing, bruised gray that felt heavy and suffocating. As I was getting out of my car at the lawyer's office, a familiar figure lunged at me, a knife flashing in his hand, aimed straight for my heart. Thanks to my recent, repeated experiences with being stabbed, my body reacted before my mind did. I twisted away, narrowly avoiding the first thrust. But he came at me again, a wild, desperate look in his eyes, his movements savage and reckless. In the struggle, I knocked the cap from his head. When I saw his face, I froze. It was Ethan. While I was still reeling from the shock, Ava appeared from nowhere and shoved me hard. My body slammed forward, right onto the point of Ethan's knife. A blossom of red spread across my shirt. I stared at Ava, my voice a choked whisper. "Why?" She looked down at me, her expression unreadable. "You forced my hand, James. If you had just dropped the divorce, it never would have come to this. I really did want to build a life with you." As Ethan pulled the knife from my chest to strike again, a team of undercover cops swarmed him, tackling him to the ground. Ethan struggled, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Ow," he sputtered. "How did you know?" I reached inside my jacket and pulled out the punctured theatrical blood pack I'd bought online. I was laughing, but tears were streaming down my face. "If I hadn't agreed to your terms, would I even be alive right now?" I asked, my voice cracking. "You never planned on letting me walk away, did you? I could never figure out why your dear brother Ethan wasn't at the wedding. Now I know. He was waiting at the hotel the whole time, looking for his chance to kill me." I turned my cold gaze on Ava. "Ethan's in deep with gambling debts, isn't he? You figured if my parents and I were all dead, you, as my loving widow, would inherit everything. Too bad for you. This time, you were wrong. After that time Ethan accidentally killed me in the security office, I knew he wasn't the real murderer. He had been a panicked, trembling mess who couldn't even think straight, a far cry from the cold, efficient killer who had murdered my entire family without a second thought. Later, I visited Ethan in jail and made him an offer. If he told me the whole truth, I would drop the lawsuit over the money he owed me. After a long hesitation, he agreed. The truth was, he was genuinely in love with Ava. She was his high school sweetheart, his first love. But his family was poor, and the relationship didn't last. Ethan had to drop out of school to work and help support his family. Around that time, Ava and I met in college. We started dating, and we were together for 10 years. The day I proposed to her, the day she said yes, was the day Ethan came back to town. They rekindled their old flame and started seeing each other behind my back, all the way up to our wedding day. That morning, Ethan had asked her to run away with him. She refused, and that's what led to the disgusting scene I saw on the security tape. After my talk with Ethan, I hired a private investigator to dig into Ava's family, the DeVises. That's when I learned that her brother Ethan was a gambling addict with massive debts. It all made sense then why Ava was always asking me for money, and why she got so angry when I finally told her we needed to start saving for a house. Her whole family had grown to resent me. To pay off Ethan's debts, they hatched a plan: murder me on my wedding day. A crowded wedding would be the perfect cover. With Ava playing the part of the grieving bride, Ethan could strike and then simply melt into the panicked crowd, all evidence lost in the chaos. They had planned it down to the last detail, running through the scenario again and again. Ava had even tried to convince me to take out a massive life insurance policy. In their minds, it was the perfect crime. Once I was dead, Ava, my legal wife, would inherit everything. And now, the entire Davis family is in prison for conspiracy and attempted murder. And I am finally awake from this long and terrible nightmare. At the heart of this story is a simple truth. The deepest wounds always come from the people you trusted the most. It reminds us not to confuse habit with love simply because we cannot accept the loss of what we once gave. Real strength means looking the truth in the eye and still finding the courage to knock down the rubble yourself. The pain of shattering a lie is not an ending. It is where rebirth begins. I hope that after your own storm has passed, you too will live to see your sunrise.